Welcome back to another video. This is Kenna with Kenna's Daisies, where I show you how to make jewelry. I love making these friendship bracelets, so I make them all the time. So let's jump into the video, because today we're going to talk about how to design something like this. So this pattern I made for the thumbnail, and this bracelet that I actually did from this pattern is based off of this pattern by Sodapop. They are awesome, super cool. They make really cute ones, but this isn't my own design, and I wanted to say that. If you want to make your patterns on Braceletbook, I actually have a tutorial specifically for that, and you can do that on the computer. So for now, I'm showing you the other ways, but if you want to check out that video, I will link that. So if you know this channel, you know I've made plenty of alpha bracelets like this. There's also different beaded bracelets you can do by making grid patterns like this. And there's also like crocheting you can do. So this comes in handy. So let's get started. I have multiple versions I'm going to show you on how to do this. First is on a whiteboard, second is on a notebook, and then third is on an iPad. The reason I'm doing iPad third is because I know that not everyone has access to an iPad. So let's start with the whiteboard. So with the whiteboard, it's really convenient because you're not using any paper or using any materials, but it is a little tricky, I think, if you're doing anything that's more complicated than a really simple pattern. Like personally, I only have 3 dry erase markers, so I can only really use 3 colors. They don't have to be the same colors, but anyways. So for a whiteboard, I like to keep it simple. And if you know how to make an alpha, which if you don't, I'll link a video to it, you know that you're going to be going downwards like this because that's how the strings you're going to start on. So first I'm going to figure out how many strings I want in my pattern. Say I'm going to make a bracelet that's really simple, it's just 4. So you can draw out the lines all the way through, but I find that kind of complicated. So I just like to draw them at the top. So I'm only doing 4 for this alpha pattern. It's going to be a really simple alpha pattern. But say I'm going to do this. So for me, I always assume that I'm just going this way, and then this way, and then this way. So I don't usually write down the arrows or lines through it like you'll see on Braceletbook. But I just kind of draw the dots. So say I'm going to do that, and I can make this cool design. The thing with this is you don't have to do them in order of the row. Like you can kind of just draw however you want, but you do have to make sure that it's easy enough for you to read. So it has to, so like if I did it right there, that might confuse myself. That might confuse me. So I'm gonna put it like, make sure I'm lining them up quite well. That's where the lines can come in handy, but I feel like when you're doing like really simple bracelets like this, it's not bad. You can't do lots of pictures or like letters with only 4 strings, but it can make some pretty cool patterns or like flags or whatever you're trying to do that way. So that's how you do that, and that's pretty simple. Next, let's go to a notebook. Very similar premise. I like using grid notebooks or like these dotted ones. This is what I did this one on. And so for this one, you can use whatever you want that can draw on paper, which is really nice. And you can make it really wide if you want as well, which is super nice. But for the sake of this video, I'll make it pretty simple. But yeah, say I just start making it, and I don't know how many strings I want yet. Sometimes I just wait to draw how many strings there are until I kind of figure out what my pattern is. So say I want like some cute like purpley clouds, and I decide I want it kind of thick like that. You also have to remember when you're making this with strings, it's so much thinner. I mean, if you look at that, obviously it shrinks down to the size of the knots. So you want to keep that in mind while you're doing it. But it's nice with this one because it keeps them aligned, and so you can figure out the shape you want without really having to like go line by line to keep everything lined up. And then you also can do it just like dots like this. You don't have to color all of them. I'd like to color all of them a little bit because it makes it simpler for my brain to follow where I'm at. So this isn't a very great cloud, but you get the gist. And what's nice about this too is you can kind of mess with it. If you have whiteout, you can just like practice doing lots of different ones. Anyways, so there's some cute things you can do with this. And then the most tedious part about anything that's like hand drawn is doing every single one of these. If you want to be kind of lazy, like you can just do this. And like, as long as you kind of get the gist when you're reading it, like when you're doing the pattern and you're reading it this way, if you think like, oh, and then there's 5 dots, like if you're thinking of it that way, then you can do that and it can really speed up the process, which is nice. But anyways, it's kind of just what you want to read. If I was doing it for someone else to read, I wouldn't do the lines, I would just do all the dots, even though it's tedious, because it makes it easier for other people to read. Okay, anyways, so that's a notebook. That's kind of simple. You can also recreate the same thing using like whatever paper you have. I just like to use another paper and then make it a little grid system. This one is a little messy, especially for me, because I'm not perfect at drawing straight lines or doing like good distances away from each other, as you can tell, but it still works. Like you can do this. That's how I like to do white as well, is I like to do an open circle like that, because then you can tell the difference, but then you don't have to be doing it on a dark colored paper. Anyways, so that's all the paper versions. I'm gonna go to the iPad version now. So sorry if you don't have an iPad, but thank you for watching up to this point. So right here, I already have this open, but I'm gonna show you, if you have Procreate, how to get it like this. And if you have another drawing app, there's definitely ways you can look up to do it as well. So I'm gonna open Procreate and it'll take you to this page most likely. And then I'm gonna push the plus button and I'm gonna just do whichever size I want. I like doing square just because it's simple. And then you're gonna go up to this little tool right here, click canvas, and then click drawing guide right there. If it doesn't come up like a grid, you can click edit drawing guide, and you want to click this 2D grid button down here. And then from there, you can also edit the opacity of the lines, which comes in handy because you can do this while you're drawing it, and then you can go down, or you can do like the thickness of the lines. It just makes it really simple because you can make it look however you want, which is nice. And then grid size is probably your most useful. So if you're doing a really small pattern, you can do that. If you're doing a really big pattern, you can do that and just zoom in. So if I was crazy and doing a big pattern, I could just... The nice thing about this, as well as the digital, is if you're basing it off of a real photo or you want to use a reference photo, you can. So say I wanted to make this cute little duck sticker I have into a bracelet pattern. I don't have to just eyeball it. I can go... Oh, don't click gallery. I can go into the tools again, and then I would push the add button, and then I would say insert a photo or insert a file depending on where you have saved. And I took a picture of the sticker right before the video. So bam, look at that. You've got your reference and then you got the lines over it. You can also change the color of the lines if it makes it easier. And then if you're gonna do this with the reference photo, you want to add another layer on top, because then you can get rid of the reference photo later. So don't forget that step. Anyways, make sure you're drawing on this layer, and then you can use this button up here to choose colors. So say I wanted to use a blue for that scarf, and then you can size your brush so that a tap will give you a dot. So I want my dots a little bit bigger than that. Bam. So then you can make your pattern. Now my favorite trick about using Procreate is that you can hold down on a color and then that'll be the color, which is a little tricky when you can't see exactly where it is because it's all that color. But it's really nice because it gives you like the realisticness of that color. So then I'm gonna put it on that. I want to be careful to not get confused because it's the same exact color. So after I do this with my reference photo, then I'll want to turn off the reference and see what I think of how it looks. And if it looks creepy, then I want to retry it or do something a little bit different. I chose kind of a tricky reference photo because there's a lot of curves in it, but I wanted to show you a tricky example because then you can kind of get the gist, and then when you're doing something simpler, it's easier for you. So I'm realizing right now I probably want to make those ones darker so that I can kind of tell where the shading is. So I'm gonna wait to do those ones. So I just kind of go for it. If it's not perfect, don't worry about it. As long as you get the gist, when it's small on the bracelet, it'll look good. And so once you've gotten all your dots like drawn as far as you're aware, you can, you don't have to delete the reference later, but you just check this mark right there. So obviously you can see mine looks a little scary, but I did get the good gist of it. So now I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna fix it. Oh, make sure that you go back to the layer that you're drawing on. I'm going to fix it, so I'm just going to erase this random dot that got over there. I'm going to put a black dot where I left out the eye accidentally. And then I also want to put one of those right there. So that looks better for sure, right? And then you can also change the color of things by going here and dragging it to the dots. Although if they're connected with any other dots, then it's kind of weird like that. But yeah, I'm thinking this looks less weird. And obviously you're gonna have things that aren't the exact same color as your strings, but if you get the good gist, then you know what to follow and what you're kind of going for. So I really like how this duck turned out. I think it's really cute. And if you're ever looking at this and you think, oh, well, that's not what I want it to look like at all, remember that if you add more strings, then it's gonna be more accurate, but it also is gonna be a thicker bracelet and take more. So I'm really impressed with like these bracelets patterns that people made on Braceletbook because they're so well like rounded and stuff with not a crazy amount of strings. So then again here, we're going to add a background so that we kind of get the gist of how many knots we're going to be tying. Right here, I'm just kind of gonna give like one, I'm probably gonna do a black background, and I'm gonna do one dot or one line away like this so that we have like good room for ample room for color changes. So then from there, you're just gonna do the same thing where you draw a bunch of dots. This one's kind of easy because you're not trying to do a picture, but it is tedious because you have to draw a ton of dots. So yeah, you want to try to be more careful than I was being there. And then this is going to be a keychain pattern because it's not really a bracelet, but if I wanted to make it a bracelet, I probably would go this way. And so I would draw dots that direction. But because I'm making it a keychain, I'm going to draw dots that direction for my background. Okay, I'm done. You can see I got kind of lazy with some of them. I was just trying to get it done quickly, but if I had done it on another layer, which I probably should have, I'd be able to change the color of the background as easy as I'd like, but I'm just going to be able to do that on the bracelet. So I think it's really cute. I think it turned out well, and I think it'd be a super cute keychain. Should I make it sometime? Maybe I'll make a video out of that. I could do a full tutorial on how to actually just do this one with step-by-step on all the color switches and stuff. This one is 21 strings wide. And so yeah, here's the pattern. Feel free to use it. I did use someone else's art to base it off of, so don't sell it or anything, but feel free to definitely make this. And if you do, tag me on Instagram at Kenna's Daisies because I would love to see it. And yeah, thank you for watching this video. Hopefully you can make some pretty cool patterns, and I want to see what crocheting or bracelet making or bead bracelet making you end up doing with it. I would love to see that. So you guys have a great day and subscribe if you liked my video. Thanks.